Hello, this is Jill Thompson, and I'm going to talk about the ideal customer for Nordic Wolf mead. So mead is increasing in popularity. It's actually a product that's classified as an unfortified wine. It's made from raw honey, fruits, spices, and other natural ingredients. It's actually an ancient brew from medieval times, and so it's making somewhat of a revival. And part of the reason that it's making a revival is that it's actually crafted now like local brews. So mead is made with honey and fruit, but also crafted with spices and other ingredients to give a variety of flavors. It's actually the fastest growing alcohol, according to the American Mead Association, and it's gluten-free and also embraces history and folklore spirit. It's for all these reasons, mead is increasing in popularity. So I think what's important to analyze at this point is who are those people that are more drawn to drinking mead. I've done this by looking at the demographics, the geographics, the psychographics, and the behavior graphics. So part of this includes figuring out who's currently buying mead, and it's multi-generational. There are males and females, both millennials and Gen Xers that tend to be the population that's drinking and embracing mead more so. And it's people who embrace history. I talked before about the shows, people who like folklore, Lord of the Rings, and other fantasy tales, as well as those who watch Game of Thrones. There's actually a revival, so to speak, just based off of Game of Thrones, because some of the main characters do drink mead, and other shows based on the medieval times. People who like to eat and drink natural foods tend to be drawn to mead. Those people who are eco-friendly and understand how it helps bees and the bee population. And then trendsetters who are looking for an alternative beverage. I actually heard a talk at a Leadership Asheville Buzz breakfast, and GM from New Belgium, who had mentioned that there is a slight decline in craft beer and that millennials are looking for an alternative beverage to what their parents drink or drank. So what I decided to do is to do a little mini survey, understanding that this was just scratching the surface. It's important to do a much larger scale survey and really tap into a larger demographic in the Asheville area or Western North Carolina, where we are looking to open up this business. But this was a way to at least get some questions out there, get a little bit of data, test out Facebook, see whether this might be a vehicle for a survey. And these were the questions that I posed on the Facebook survey. These were ones that I thought were important initially to get out there. So here's the Facebook quick poll results and what I learned. So it was interesting to see that the demographic for both males and females was laid out here, and I found that there were more people within that range of 31 to 50s. So it was interesting to see these age ranges and how many people responded to the survey, even though there aren't a lot of numbers here. It still was interesting to analyze. And then the gender difference, a lot more females responding to the survey. So I don't know whether that's just females were more interested in taking the survey or more interested in mead or maybe just supporting us in general. Hard to say, but we had more females who responded to the survey. So then another look here, a little bit deeper at some of the questions. Have you tried mead? If so, did you like mead? So this was interesting to me to see there were a lot of people that had tried mead and there were some that hadn't. But if they did try mead, there were about 11 that whatever their experience was, seemed to enjoy it, and then 3 that weren't quite sure or said maybe. And it was interesting to also look at those people that responded to this survey and what their preferred alcohol is. So the people who liked mead, many of them actually, I noticed, were wine drinkers. And so then there were others who were interested in distilled spirits. Mead's an unfortified wine, so naturally, wine drinkers would be more interested. And then it also, when it's a higher alcohol level, almost has a little bit of a spirit taste to it. So we're thinking that this would be a good group to market to for our higher alcohol content. Meads are those who are into distilled spirits. And then it was interesting to also look at the idea of going to a wine or mead tasting and whether these folks might be interested in attending one. And so several people were interested in trying it out, going to a wine tasting or a mead tasting and seeing what the experience was like. And there were some who weren't quite sure, and then others who just didn't have an interest in it. So after the survey, I thought it was important to take a look at demographics in general and those social drinkers that are out there who might be receptive to trying mead. And so one of the demographics that I looked at was male millennial social drinkers. And I have some data here. So 76% of the millennials are male who are social drinkers in the ages of 25 to 34 years old. 31% were married, and 74% went to college or were in college, and then there were 47% with children. So that gave us a little bit of a snapshot of who those male millennial social drinkers are. So in looking at the geographics, it's important to analyze where we're going to be opening up the business. And there's a population of 91,902 residents, ranging in age. They're the ones that are making up 28.7% of the total population. And then the employers, Mission Health, Buncombe County Schools, and Ingalls employ the most people. So those are the major employers in the area. It was also interesting to look at the median income. Is there disposable income for people to go out and socialize and purchase our product? Looking at the ratio between non-family households and married couple households. There's a large percentage of tourism in Asheville. So looking at the 29,800 tourists who visit, 24% of the 1.9 billion spent on local businesses for food and beverage. So that was an interesting statistic. And also that there's a secondary target for the Buncombe County Convention and Visitors Bureau for marketing, and that is millennials who are interested in experiences. And those would actually be folks that we would be looking at targeting to as well. So Forbes places Asheville as one of the 15 coolest places to go. So as we look at our business and being an experience, a place where people can go and have fun, that's also tapping into that demographic that's coming out to Asheville to experience something cool and unique. So let's look at the behavior graphics of millennial male social drinkers. And I will also look at the behavior graphics of the millennial female social drinkers. So there was more information on the social drinkers, that male population, which may be because there's a higher percentage. They said in this survey it was 74%. Maybe that's where I'm getting a little bit more information for this particular presentation. But it was interesting to see what their behavior graphics are, and they were into the liquors here: Jack Daniels, Jägermeister, and Captain Morgan's. And they also were into festivals and experiences and outdoor events and going to parties. Obviously, they're the social drinkers. So it was interesting to see that they tended to be more liquor drinkers. Looking at the behavior graphics for millennial female social drinkers was much different, but very interesting. And there were some crossovers. I hadn't mentioned that male drinkers showed up as preferring to drink locally and drink craft product. So that was also something that women had in common, is they wanted to support their local businesses as well as try something unique and different. They tended to be more into wine and drinking wine than the males, and they were interested in drinking more expensive brands than their parents. And a large percentage reject mass market alcoholic beverages, so they were open to, as I mentioned, those craft products, those local products that were unique and different. And they like quality, variety, and don't like to drink alone. So 45% of the women on a market chart survey indicated so they like to have experiences and go out and spend money on experiences. So the psychographics were interesting as well, and there were definitely some crossovers with the male millennials and the female millennials in terms of enjoying drinking handcrafted brews, and they enjoy the variety of flavors. Millennials like locally made and support local beverage crafters on a huge scale, and they value experiences in general, both males and females, over physical products, and they share them on social media. Clearly, the millennials seem to be more of a target market for us. However, it is broader in the sense that we are going to draw in Gen Xers and baby boomers, but when we're looking at that one specific target market, I would say it's going to be those younger millennials. So targeting them as a segment, Nordic Wolf branding will focus on experience, including the Step Back in Time Mead Hall. Experiential millennials are coming to Asheville, so we will try to reach them through our marketing. And the millennials like to support local sharing experiences online and want to be unique. 69% of millennials consider themselves adventurous and are loyal to brands. So if they're adventurous and they find a brand they really like, they're going to be loyal to it. And they appreciate creative labeling and value authenticity. While Nordic Wolf Mead is looking to create unique branding through our labels with that Step Back in Time Viking theme, where we're going to really create a authentic old world style brand. This is a growing generation that's taking over the workforce with more disposable income than previous years. And when it comes to flavor, nothing is too extreme for millennials. So there we go with flavors and experimenting and coming up with a variety of different types of meads of different alcohol levels as well as different flavors for millennials. Here are the references. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen into the presentation. It was really helpful to go through this process and figure out that target market. Again, this is an ongoing project where we're continuing to put in time and research to fill this out and really hone in on who we want to target to. So it's really important for us to continue to analyze that. So thank you very much.